Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's me, Chase. I almost said my other name. Anyways, it's Chase here, and we're going to be talking a little bit of a different topic today. And we're going to be talking about the subject of greed. I was talking to some people on Twitter, actually last week, about the minimum wage, and the topic of greed kept coming up with corporations. So I thought I'd go over it real quick because I had some thoughts that I wrote down when I was in church this Sunday. So we'll go over them real quick, and then I'll ask you guys what you think. My thought is that as I was discussing with people on Twitter about things like minimum wage, the big topic that seemed to come up was that we can't let the greedy corporations get away with not paying their fair of taxes, and the rich, those greedy rich, we can't let them get their fair or not pay their fair share. Because it seems as though that people think that government is above everything, and this is what I mean by that. Government isn't greedy, government isn't evil, and government is only there for the well-being of everyone around them. Because if you think about it, everybody's like, oh, there's an issue with the private sector, government. There's something going wrong overseas, government. We need charity, government. Doing something right, government. Everybody thinks that the government is the quintessential part of charity and being and goodwill, and that they're fighting for the good guys all the time. The fact is that just because greed seems to be more prevalent in the private sector does not mean that that is where the greed is coming from. Because it seems as though when people argue that corporations and rich people are greedy, they always say that, oh, government can just handle it. Government will take care of it. Government's not greedy. And I think, like what I was saying with the do we worship our government, we kind of give it like a pass. We don't realize that it's not the private sector that makes people greedy. It's people that make people greedy. It's a desire for power, for money, for influence. That is what gets people in trouble and gets people to be greedy and have greedy thoughts. So the question we need to ask ourselves is, what actually causes greed? And I think we all know that as people, we all want and all have the desire for power and for money and for pleasure, and basically to be able to do whatever we want. And if we have a lot of money, we're able to do that, so we are automatically going to be greedy with it. Now, some people give even though they have a lot of money. Most people give because it really doesn't affect them and it just makes them feel good about themselves. But in reality, it all comes down to everyone is greedy, every single person. And just because you put it in government does not mean that it'll all of a sudden become this perfect thing that everybody's going to be able to use, and like everybody will just rain down money for everyone. No, government is just as greedy as any other corporation is because man is running it. So the question lies, where is it easiest to control the greed? Okay, where is it the easiest to make sure that it does not get out of control? And in the 20s we saw how bad it got, and we saw even before that, like during the Industrial Revolution, how the big corporations controlled everything, made people work extremely hard, basically made people slaves, gave them very minimal money. And that's when the government came in and started regulating them, which is definitely what needs to be the case, but that does not mean that government is out of the loop when it comes to being greedy. Because as I said before, the question is, where is it easiest to control? Okay, we've already seen it get out of control in the private sector, and the government shut it down. But we've also seen greed completely overtake government. In a lot of different circumstances, if you want to look back at history, basically every society has fallen because of inner greed and inner turmoil, not because of conquering entities from the outside. And if you think about it, there is no check to government. Besides the fact that we are a democracy, and well, we're a republic, not a democracy. But except for the fact that we are a republic, there is no check on the government. We are the only check. We, the people of the United States, are the only check on government pretty much anywhere. And if you look back at history, you can see that the ones that did not have any check and the ones that just decided, oh, we can just get a little more power here, get a little more power here, get a little more power here, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's these huge centralized government that become communist. They become, the emperors of Rome, making you tax however you want, whenever you want. And in government, greed can get completely out of control, completely blown out of proportion. There's no way to stop governmental greed like there is the private sector. The private sector is regulated by the government, but if we let the government over-regulate the private sector, then it's just going to get even more and more greedy. Then it's going to basically have a monopoly on everything. Not just one place here, not just one place here, but it's going to have a monopoly on everything, all the money, and that is where the issue lies. The fact is that greed is not based in the private sector, it's based in ourselves. And government will be just as greedy as anybody else. So giving them more power to give money to whoever they want will not work, because in the end, they will always keep the money for themselves if they're the ones in power. Because why not? Why would you have all the power and then give it all away? That's not our human nature. Our human nature is to take what we think is ours and keep it, not give it away to the poor. The fact is that if government gets over greedy, overzealous, and puts more problems on the shoulders of the private sector, making it look like they're the bad guys, they're the bad guys, they're the bad guys, and then all of a sudden, everybody turns to them like we're doing now and saying, you need to save us from these people because they're taking all of our money and they're not being fair to us. And then Big Brother steps in and is like, I'll be fair. Let's be honest, when was the last time that worked? You know what that's called? It's called communism, which is what Russia was at one point, and Russia was horrible. Stalin killed millions of people. And there was two classes, the people and the government. Government had all the money, the monarchies had all the wealth, and the people had nothing. They were all even, they were all fair, they were all, together, and life was fair, but they were all dirt poor. They could be killed whenever, they could have their land taken away from them whenever, and they could do nothing about it. That is the essence of greed. So what I'm saying is we need to find a happy medium where government regulates the private sector in the right way, but does not get in the way in such a fact that we're giving over 50% of our money. People want to tax the rich and households that make a lot of money by like 50%, and that's not their money. And people think that, oh, well, they shouldn't be making so much. I can't believe I would rather have the problem of having too much money. That's not the point. The point is it's their money, they made it, they earned it somehow, and it's not our job nor the government's to take it from them. Sure, we need government for certain things, but we do not need them to run our lives, and we do not need to be giving them all of the money that we make. Because as I said before, government over greed cannot be checked. If it gets too big, it cannot be stopped. Even in this type of republic, it will and cannot be stopped. Private sector always can be. So we need to be fighting to make sure that the government does not get to the point where they get all the money, become over greedy, become overzealous, and take away all the power that the businesses have when it comes to money. Because greed is everywhere. It's not just in the private sector, it's not just in the corporations, it's everywhere. And you think that the people that are calling out the people that are being greedy because they have so much money, you think they're not greedy at all either? What do you think they would do in their situation? So anyways, guys, I just wanted to get that out there, because we just need to remember that greed is not placed somewhere. Greed is in here. And as much as certain people can fight against it, I know I can a little bit, but for the most part, it's like, I'm not gonna deny money. Even though we can combat it, it's better that we have checks and balances, which is why the government was set up with the 3-branch system like it is, so that there's checks and balances on everything. So anyways, guys, I want to thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, a favorite. I always do appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe down low if you're new. Be sure to share this video on Facebook if you watched it all the way through. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching, like I said before, and I will see you later. I don't know what that is, but see ya. Whoa!